Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the GGB Supplier Showcase. As always, I'm your host, Jess Marquez, and I am so pleased to be joined today by an old friend, Julia Carcamo, President and Chief Brand Strategist, for J Carcamo and Associates, a marketing whiz, all things casino marketing. Julia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on. So, we're here today to talk about your casino marketing bootcamp program, which is coming up this spring. I'd love to hear all about it. I guess we could start at the beginning. So, kind of, how did how long have you been doing the program? Kind of, how did it come about? Give me the backstory on it.
So this is actually going to be our sixth year doing the what I call the signature event now, because 2 years ago we actually expanded into regional boot camps that are a little smaller and more locally based, focused on the issues at hand in that specific kind of area. But this is the sixth year, and it came out of a discussion that I was having with a fellow speaker at another conference. And we talked about how great the conference had been, that the content was really great. And it was just hard for her to really kind of fathom what happens to all the content when people go back to the properties. And I explained to her, having been a property person, I said, I know exactly what happens. You take a million notes because the content that these conferences provides are, it's just fabulous. So you get a lot of ideas, but when you get back to the property, reality sets in and you're behind schedule on emails and approving code grids for direct mail and et cetera, et cetera. And then all these ideas that you had just sort of end up at the bottom of a list, tragically. And what we wanted to do was kind of create an environment that was less about a conference. So we don't have a trade show floor. It's really just content, content, content. And presented in such a way that the attendees could really internalize it, understand it, and have a plan set so that they can implement it going forward. So our sessions are 90 minutes to 2 hours instead of just the standard 45-minute panel discussion. We have pre-arrival assignments that we send out. And then we've got assignments during each of the sessions. So it's very intensive. It's very hands-on and interactive.
Interesting. And it's kind of funny. It's ironic how we were just chatting off air about, conferences and the difficulty of getting them
Mhm.
set up. I would imagine, I mean, just for this 1 week a year, it's probably a year-round commitment, is it not, to get everything, not only with the attendees, but also obviously everything with the schedule and all that coordinated stuff, I would imagine.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's a year-long process for this one event, but now
Yeah.
it is a year-long process because we've got the regionals. But yeah, we sort of finish one and move right into the other one. And sometimes we're overlapping as we're developing content for the different events. Last summer, while we were building out the Midwest agenda, we were also building out the Northwest one. So there is a little overlap, and it can take the vast majority of the year. Plus, we've added virtual master classes. So we're just starting our casino advertising masterclass. This is our seventh year doing it, seventh session. That starts later this month. We added a branding masterclass that's done virtually. And then we also have been doing a webinar series every year, and that'll probably start in the summertime sometime. So Casino Marketing Bootcamp is pretty much a year-long process for me.
I can imagine. It sounds like it. So moving on to this year specifically. So it is set this year for March 18th through 20th in New Orleans at the DoubleTree. Um, what's kind of the focus for this year, the agenda? Is there a theme? Is there kind of an overriding message that you guys wanted to put out for this year? Kind of what can people expect for this edition?
So the signature event is 3 days long, and we try to approach a 360 view of
Okay.
casino marketing. So we try to cover as much of the disciplines as we cover in casino marketing. I'm going to tell you that in 3 days, we really can't get to everything, but we try to approach that 360. The regional ones are a little bit more focused on the region. But this year, we're pretty much always have a discussion on branding. Analytics is always an important part of the discussion. My feeling is that you don't have to be the data analyst to need to understand analytics. You can be the advertising person, and analytics will serve you well. We're having a discussion on reputation management, which a couple of properties are doing a phenomenally good job at that. and some of them aren't. And so we try to give them the tools so that they can get up and running. We've got a discussion on appointment marketing, which is a really wonderful topic that I love. And it really is about how do you map out that schedule so you're bringing in your best customers, you know, at an optimal time, and how you allocate your resources. So we try to really kind of get that holistic view around marketing.
So as you know, as the organizer who is putting on a show, what would your, I guess how it's kind of difficult to word, but I guess like what would your hope be for somebody leaving the show? What would you hope that they take away? Is it like an overall theme? Is there kind of some like an overall overriding message that you wish participants to kind of walk away with? I mean, I know you kind of talked about the difficulty of it's a lot of information in a short period of time
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard to digest, but is there kind of like an overall experience that you're trying to curate or something that you would wish people would walk away with?
Um, every year somebody has said to me, this has completely changed the way I'm thinking about fill in the blank. There's always this just one topic that sort of goes like this to them. And I love that. My other thing that I've noticed is that because this is the 6th year that we're doing this, I've actually seen some of our attendees be elevated in their roles at their properties, which I think is phenomenal. You know, we really stay in touch a lot. I follow up with them to make sure that they've got the tools that they need. So I just want them to be able to go back and be better marketers and feel more confident and understand how they are the mechanism that's driving revenue, and everything that we do needs to be perfected, and marketing is this ever evolving role of just perfecting, 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 right? You learn, you adjust, you do better, you learn, you adjust, you do better.
Well, and that's, I love how the way you said that because it kind of ties into my next question. And you said, ever evolving, which I think is perfect. You've obviously been in this industry a long time. You have a lot of great experience with a lot of great companies. What are some of the biggest ways, just broadly speaking, what are some of the biggest ways that casino marketing has changed, since you first started and kind of, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over that time?
Oh my God. When I started in casino marketing, the internet wasn't even as broad based as it is now.
Yeah.
So that's like been the biggest evolution, right? Was just the fact that now people look online for their information and their inspiration. But, now all of our communications, even when I was like deep, deep into like property life, direct mail and putting a stamp on something and putting it in the mailbox was the be all and end all of what we did for marketing. And now, between the postal rates going up continuously and the evolution of our customer base coming into us, and even how, and it's not just young people that are coming into the casinos that communicate differently. It's our core customers that have just adjusted in the last 3 years. The way they live their lives has adjusted. They've become more digital. And so that's been, between the birth of the internet as something that was just widely populated use, I started in the dial-up days. So, to high speed internet where people are just looking online and using their phones to get whatever information they need. I mean, that's the huge evolution that I've seen.
So I'll get you out of here on this one, and thank you again so much for joining me today. But kind of, what would you say if you were like build almost like a build a player, and you were like building a marketer that could succeed and thrive in today's environment? What skills do you think are the like at the top of the list that they would need to have? And I guess kind of tying it back in, obviously, how does the boot camp program help develop those skills?
So, it's really funny because when I started my career in casino marketing, I had no casino experience, right? I mean, I was in the Gulf South. It was one of the regions that was just opening up. Um, and I learned the casino business. And as I've gone through my career, I've hired numerous people in a variety of roles. And I've always found that there's always this moment where I hire somebody or offer a job to somebody that doesn't have marketing experience or branding experience. And I tell them all the time, but you're curious. You're a curious person. You want to learn and you're organized, right? Casino marketers are constantly juggling. So I think that organizational skills are a must. How you process your projects, how do you keep track of them? How do you stay on top of things is a skill you have to have. But I think being curious and wanting to learn, because marketing casino isn't just about knowing, price, product, place, and promotion, the 4 Ps that you learn in school. You have to know your product. I mean, the slot floor is the center of what we're selling. And we have to understand that machine, how it works, how it attracts people, how it affects time on device and time at our property. So I think that you really never come into the operation with I don't know that you need to have 10 years of experience in marketing, with consumer brands, or I mean, yes, if you're going to be the digital marketing coordinator, it would be great if you had some digital experience. But I think in general with casino marketing, I look for curiosity. And I think that that's what happens at boot camp, is that curiosity is just fed, because everything is just presented in such a dynamic way, in such a really active participation way. I mean, we keep our groups really small. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said, we keep our group small. And so you never really have this moment where you're lost in information. I said, and you lose your fear of saying, I don't know what this is. Can you go back on this? Because the group is small, people always feel very free to say, I don't get it. Let's talk about this. So that curiosity is just my biggest thing that I look for. And I know it's not something that you see in a resume, but you kind of get that from talking to people.
I would agree, and I think marketing is one of those things, like you said, where you need to be enthusiastic about what it is that you're working with, certainly. And most of the people that I come across are very much like that as well. So I would agree. Thank you so much for joining me, Julia. We're about 2 months away from the New Orleans edition, this year's edition of the Casino Marketing Bootcamp. Tell everyone out there where they can find you if they're interested in the bootcamp, if they'd like to sign up. Kind of where would you like them to go?
So you can always go to casinomarketingbootcamp.com. We have all of our programs there, so you can easily find the information on New Orleans. And once we get the regional ones up, you'll see the information there as well. But you can always find me on LinkedIn too. I'm usually very present there.
Awesome. Julia, thanks again for joining me today. I look so forward to seeing the growth of the Marketing Bootcamp series, and I'm sure this year will be a big hit. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the GGB Gaming Supplier Showcase, our exclusive look at the best products and services produced by vendors for the gaming, iGaming, and sports betting industries. For more information about the GGB Supplier Showcase, contact Terry Brady at tbrady@ggbmagazine.com.